back online. I thought after I went to my neighbour's very briefly, I was out the door so fast. What they watch on there, those soap operas. Honestly, no wonder people are not aware of what we're aware of. Their brains are filled with absolute nonsense. Who at age 77 would want to sit there knitting and looking at trash, absolute trash? If I'd even stayed 2 minutes, I would have gone mad, mental. I can't believe what is on the television. Let's get back to this. Aimee's book, A Call for Action. We're on chapter 3. She's headed it, The Lies. When I was a child, said Aimee, I fell for it all. The Exxon Mobil oil spill. Of course, years later, it was BP who had such an unfortunate event. I call bullshit. It was all staged to look like it was an accident. The Challenger explosion, every last bit of it. We all fell for it. Those days are over. We had no chance. Now we do. We were indoctrinated by the schools, by the actors on the news stations, by the forced injections to give us an endless need to visit their big pharma paid minions. Well, you messed with my son this time. Now they have to deal with me. This one will most likely piss off the majority of true American patriots. We have not been the United States of America since World War I. We are now USA Incorporated, publicly traded on Dun and Bradstreet. I was so angry when I learned about Operation Paperclip. Nazi, NASA, NASA. Nazi, NASA, NASA. And the whole moon landing being a hoax. You can thank Stanley Kubrick for that one, and also the death of that poor child in Poltergeist, let alone the fact that many of the astronauts from the Challenger are still alive today, namely Judith Resnick at Yale Law University and Sharon Krista McAuliffe at Syracuse Law University. You can actually see the reflection of the photographer in the astronaut's helmet, and said photographer is not wearing a space suit. Others have done such tasks that are far beyond my scope of technology, and you can see other flaws in their life. There is an interview where a child asks Buzz Aldrin why they haven't gone back to the moon. He is baffled that such a young boy would ask such a thing, and afraid to answer the question. Then look up Operation Mockingbird. Why? Why would people do these psychological attacks on their own people? The answer is usually one or more of these 3 things: money, fame, power. Look to some of our former presidential quotes. They were onto something, or at least telling us something, or as per their Luciferian agenda, they must tell us what they are doing, even if hiding it well. We all remember where we were and what we were doing on that fateful day in September. It wasn't until many years later that I saw a clip of George W. Bush in the classroom reading to the children. Have you heard what those words were that they were reading? It gave me the chills, to say the least, and infuriated me even more. I will tell you a few of those words that they were practicing reading as his Secret Service agent came in and whispered in his ear. Those words: plain steel, S-T-E-E-L, steel, as in metal. I suggest you find the clip and watch for yourself. I am sure what the guy whispered to him went something like this: all is going according to plan, sir. Then research how his father, while in the CIA, silenced JFK, John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, who was murdered, assassinated November the 22nd, 1963. How about the fact that each president of the US is part of the same bloodline, if through marriage or whatever? Yup. Oh, and a more recent one signed an executive order stating that we cannot question any history regarding think hollow plus cost. You do the research. Sounds vaguely familiar to an NZ church incident that people were banned from owning video. 10 years in prison. Why? Cover-ups? Plain and simple. Let's not forget the big one. Or should I say, the big 9-1. I have a family member by marriage, a firefighter who was there after the incident, and he still denies that it was an inside job. Maybe he simply cannot comprehend. But do not deny things when you refuse to do the research for yourself. Handy Sook School, sorry, as I mentioned in the beginning, the censorship is bad. The list goes on, and it is not only heart-wrenching, but angering also. Actors were paid to put on these hoaxes with no conscience. The Christmas trees were delivered by the supposed numbers of the fallen before the incident even took place. This was yet another psychological operation, psych-op, in order to gain more heartfelt, anger-ridden compliance from those of us watching. In other words, those of us who actually care. Then they have reason to take our guns. All the while they are the ones who perpetrate these evil things. Child sacrifices for their god Lucifer. Yes, my friends, they are that evil. Remember the movie Eyes Wide Shut? I believe that was also Stanley Kubrick. This also plays into their ritualistic mask-wearing, hand-washing, isolation tactics that have been documented for centuries. Then take school, basically, indoctrination of the masses. Thanks again, Rockefellers. How most of us are taught how to work, while the secret society kids are taught something entirely different. UCC uniform commercial code, or how to monopolize people in order to gain control of the money and the people. Now take into account Common Core mathematics. They are doing away with cursive music and art, all which have shown to help learning. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights are in cursive right. Now you are getting the idea. I myself was in college and remember two distinct things. Failing ethics course due to their final paper to have been written on housing for paedophiles, and a scholarship called Negative Population Growth. These things are being taught to our children, drilled into their heads, in fact, so that they actually believe the lies after years of hearing about it. You see, if you don't pass the class, they cannot win this fight. Homeschool your children from here on out and teach them the truth. Remember how they took the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer out of the schools. That was the worst thing they ever did, was take out school assemblies. Everywhere. We used to have them in England. They took out God, didn't they? Begin your day with God. Everything works out beautifully. Castro, Trudeau, see the similarities in pictures. It cannot be denied. Hitler, Angela Merkel, again cannot be denied, as they most likely lied about his death as well. Princess Di, she found out how sick and vile that family is, and was silenced. Finally, how Epstein wanted to impregnate 20 women at a time on his New Mexico ranch, so as to seed the human race with his disgusting vileness. Then we have the doctor recommended injections. The fact that a certain movie was banned worldwide, VAXXED. Parents had first child jabbed and watched the health of said child decline rapidly, refusing to have their second child jabbed, and many real doctors have stated this fact, that the uninjected children are the healthiest they see. Oh, let's not forget Gates's secret sterilization of women in Africa, his refusal to inject his own. we should all require titers, blood tests, to see how much of injection is still active, as the proof of this snuck out into the open via his paediatrician and falls under doctor-patient confidentiality. But someone had the guts to speak up. Read 13.1 on any vaccine insert about carcinogens, mutations and fertility issues, HR 5546/99th Congress, 1985 to 1986, the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. Or you can go to Autism Speaks websites and actually click on the studies and read for yourself that no informed consent was required. In other words, we are their test subjects. Aimee says, I was an animal nurse and did my due diligence to research such things. So there is absolutely no reason, no good reason for any doctor to have not done the same. In fact, our Dr. Vernon Coleman has offered many a time to debate this topic, along with the inadequacies of animal testing, to no avail. No one will take him on. No one will go on the same platform as Dr. Vernon Coleman, retired, who we still watch and listen to on YouTube. And he's marvellous, he's wonderful. And yet, trolls contact me saying that David Yates won't debate. Yet, Coleman, who is all up there, right ahead of the game, they will not take his challenge. Yet they want to challenge someone like our friend David. Oh. Coleman has offered many a time to debate this topic and many other topics, especially what's current, along with the inadequacies of animal testing, to no avail. Yet he is silenced beyond words, no pun intended. Also, Senator Dr. Scott Jensen, also being threatened. Dr. Fauci, on the other hand, was also employed by Bill Gates' father, a eugenics-promoting bastard, who also was the head of Planned Parenthood. Can anyone say depopulation agenda? How about the White Coat Summit held on Capitol Hill? Multiple doctors trying to spread the truth, censored. Dr. Gold was even fired, a board-certified doctor who did not go along with their plan to lie to us all. Then there's Greta. Her grandfather or great-grandfather was the man who came up with the global warming hoax, so as to pull all of this shit off. How about requiring children that will be homeschooled to get their injections? All of us speaking out are silenced via computers or shut up permanently. In other words, Arkansided. Geoengineering, also known as weather manipulation, or as those of us who have done our research, we call them what they are, chemtrails, as they are trails full of chemical bioweapons, funded again by Mr. Philanthropy Gates. He claims he is trying to block out the heat of the sun due to their global warming hoax. Why are we blocking out the real sun while China has a sun simulator? Why? We know otherwise, and a simple blood test for heavy metal poisoning would prove such, although you would have to find a doctor and laboratory facility that are not being paid off to keep quiet. I equate this to being sprayed like cockroaches. There are many companies whose sole purpose is the aforementioned weather manipulation. Patents worldwide, and not to mention that the 5G we are all being permeated by is in fact microwave radiation. I don't have one. I gave mine away when I learned all this stuff, and that was quite some time ago. Does your microwave at home make things hotter? No, mine doesn't. I gave it away. The person I gave it to wanted it, so theirs was going home. But what do? Give it. You can't convince people. Put your thinking caps on and use their next medical martial law, lockdown, to do some actual research, because we know there'll be another one. They haven't completely opened up. They're waiting to hit us back again and lock us all down again. It's probably why I'm not allowed to visit my auntie, because they know it's coming, or they fear it's coming. It's not fair. Okay. Use this next medical martial law lockdown to do some actual research. Also, when all travel is or was suspended, why are there planes drawing lines non-stop daily? They are not condensation, as many of us who have been documenting such crimes can show you clearly how they turn it off, and then on, and so on. Then you will see the poison dripping down the sky, trying to emulate clouds, as we and our children, our pets, our plants suffer from their effects. There is even a patent to somehow put their evil vaccines into these trails, so that we do not have a choice when it comes to our own bodies. It is, in essence, biological warfare. Read the book Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, and you will start to get the idea. Harvard and MIT are also big players in this. Look up HAARP, HAARP, Directed Energy Weapons. Think Australia and California fires. Look how regularly every year they're going on all the time, burning the whole places down. It is happening. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's been happening all week this week, and floods everywhere. Are your children going to look back and say that their parents were heroes? They'd call us all idiots. Who fought for them? Or will their memories be erased completely, so that they can be re-educated to be good little slaves? It is up to us. Keep the Epstein thoughts in your head throughout all of this, because there are far worse things than sexual abuse. Mind you, one wonders, cool, that is a terrible thing, but if it's worse than that, it's even more terrible. Look up the word adrenochrome, 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 and think of the so-called need for blood during this pandemic. Yea, like vampires. it is actually far beyond sick how accurate many movies are in telling us what they hope to accomplish. One of my all-time favourites is the one where we win in the end. V for Vendetta. Here is some information from another book, another hero, Deborah Tavares, Tavares, at www.stopthecrime.net. Weather weapons are the climate crisis. We are being forced into a perpetual lockdown. All will be tele-education, telemedicine, telemarketing. Look up what was signed on July the 13th this year. They are closing streets, no cars, pushing for lithium-ion batteries, electric bikes, cars which have been igniting fires on their own and are very hard to put out. Ask a firefighter. Does anyone remember the movie Erin Brockovich with that sellout Julie Roberts? PG&E is the company in that blockbuster movie based on true events. They are now using directed energy weapons, DEW, D-E-W with dots in between, and have renamed themselves Golden State Energy, putting the liability on the public. Research the lobbying amounts paid, and then you tell me that they're working in our best interests. California and such can soon expect more fires, massive heat waves, mega droughts, etc. How about studying the pictures from the last few years of cars, mainly the wheels, being melted while trees nearby were untouched? No one says a word, even though years ago kids used to set small fires in said wheels and they never melted. There is a book called Science for sale. Read that. If you still cannot believe what you're reading or hearing from those of us trying to save you and yours, many of these so-called government entities are private corporations, as is our own country, USSA. Here we fight with no representation. As we all know, most lawyers are dirty anyway. So I tell you to look up the projections on America2025.com. Might be a .gov.com. They try to sell us on their clean energy lies, when all along Nikola Tesla had that knowledge. They kept it from us in order to make their profits, and Tesla was silenced, and people now praise Albert Einstein, who stole much of his work. They have simply found a new way to profit off us and are pushing this tyrannical system onto us and achieve it. Utility companies and of course the banks are all in on this. JP Morgan Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. Search the Climate Financing Center, dated July 15th, 2020. The carbon hoax, as they're trying to tax us for exhaling carbon. People seem to forget that we are carbon-based bodies. Plants need carbon. God does not make mistakes. God does not make mistakes. God does not make mistakes. This is an anti-human, anti-life agenda. 130 major banks have lined up with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and every single person going along with this will be held accountable for their actions via a human rights tribunal headed by we the people. Agenda 21 is very soon, and they also have Agenda 2030, which is when they hope all will be finished. If you have invested in solar with battery backups, read your contracts. Your energy can be taken from your home to keep their institutions going. Are you pissed off yet? It is high time they get off their lazy arses and stop abusing the people who have been enslaved by their lies. Then look up Executive Order 11001. They will control all health, education and welfare. Executive Order 11002. Postmaster General. Think census. I'm going to stop there because it's 32 minutes. That's long enough for one video. I'll continue with that next time, and I'll start at the God does not make mistakes. Alright, thank you for listening. Good night and God bless. I think we need to pray a lot, don't we? Lord have mercy, come and rescue us. Come back, Jesus, now.